Hey, it's good to see you. Today we're going to be talking about how you can turn some basic shapes on your wood lathe. So let's go on over to the lathe and give it a look. Okay, we have our dowel chucked between centers here, and of course tailstock here, headstock here. Make sure that your tailstock is firmly up against, resting right here. This is the cut center, and make sure on the headstock that your prongs are completely engaged in the wood so there's no slippage. Let's go ahead and cut the lathe on and just kind of get some final rounding with the roughing tool. This will ensure just a complete smooth surface to work with. Always have your tool sharpened. Another good way to check to make sure your surface is round is you can let your tool ride right on the top. If there's any vibration, you know it's not round, okay? Okay, we're going from this now. And then here is our finished piece that we're going to talk about tonight, just to do a little bit of sanding, just to get out some of the rough edges. I generally like to start with a very coarse sandpaper, about 60 grit. This is actually 150 right now, and begin working through all the different grits to about 1200 to get a good mirror finish for a shine. The higher the grit, the better your shine will be. Alright? Okay, let's get a close-up of this now. Let's begin by identifying a few cuts, of our finished piece. Basically, we have here a cove, and we move over here, and this half round shape is called a convex cut, and then we have somewhat of a rounded ball or sphere, and then we proceed over here to what I call a collar or a shoulder cut, and then we have some of a deep cut here, which has been rounded over. This is what I call a round over, and then we have more of a cove cut here, and then it comes back out and then comes right back down to a point. And when you're finished with your piece, you would actually take you can take either the parting tool, or you can take the higher point here of the skew and actually just go and keep cutting right through until you hold the piece until it comes off. I prefer actually to use a small saw and begin to cut off the finished piece, because sometimes what happens, you get a motion and the thing will actually tear off a cut that you've made, and of course you don't want to do that after you spend all this time with it. And let's start here. This bell shape is again a small short cove, and we use a small roughing gouge for this. And to use the roughing gouge, you take the beveled end and you begin by starting it into the piece and turning it like so. And I don't have the lathe running because I wanted to show you in kind of just in stills how you can do this. And as you begin turning the piece, you have it anchored to your tool rest, turning it on the bevel, and you'll begin to cut this what we call a cove shape. Coming back over here, we have a convex cut. All cuts basically start out with being shoulder cuts, and by that I mean a straight across cut. And what you want to do is you make your series of shoulder cuts, like in the illustration I'm going to put up here. You make your series of shoulder cuts, and then you take your skew, or you can actually take a spindle gouge and begin to round down these cuts. For this particular cut, I used a skew. And to take that, you actually take the point of the skew, and as the lathe is spinning, you begin to take small bites off of the shoulder cut, and as you are progressing, back up a little bit, take some more small cuts until you get the final finished design. If you wanted to round this off, you notice that this part of the convex cut is not rounded off, it's just a straight point. You can take the skew and begin to take the toe of it here and begin to turn down, and it will make a round over, kind of like a router bit. This particular part of the piece, I actually took the head of the skew and made a drop cut in this piece here. To form the ball, of course, you have to turn your spindle down to a certain diameter, and of course you use calipers for that to determine if you were going by a pattern. And that's what I did here, taking the skew and working the piece down, and then I will take it and then I will shape it back and forth until I get that finished piece. The same principle here. I took the skew as the lathe was spinning at about 1,000 RPMs. Take it and continually go down and make to a certain point where you want to stop, and then you can begin another cut here, a round over cut. I just took the skew again, just like the sphere here, the half sphere, kind of an oval, and began to take small bites and progressively moving back until you have a rounded over edge. Now, again, for this leg type shape, I began by, this was just a long piece. You began by roughing it down to a smaller cylinder, and then again with your roughing gouge, taking the beveled end, putting it right against, and you begin to turn out wood just like that, and that will create the narrow profile. And your cut is just basically right here to here. And then you take your skew, if you want, or your gouge, if you want to keep on going and making another tapered cut, you just begin by taking you can actually use a skew or your roughing gouge. You may want to use a smaller gouge for this one, and coming straight down and making your point here. Okay, let's look at some other shapes we can do. Let's look at a pin project I did. We'll go ahead and bring that up. This particular pin tube was done with what I call a Versa chisel. Actually, it's Penn State called the Versa chisel, I should say. It is a chisel that acts like a Cove. I'll show it to you here. Has kind of it's got a flat edge here, and on the reverse you have a beveled profile, and it will do a lot of the same things that a roughing chisel will do. Just go ahead, instead of taking rolling cuts with a roughing gouge, you can actually make sweeping cuts back and forth, kind of driving it in a little bit to make your Cove shape. Here we have a Cove, just a very simple Cove. You can see it kind of tapers out here, and then begins to bulge here for a riding grip, basically for a good grip. And then, of course, we take the skew and make a longer point, or take the longer point and make a shoulder cut here, and begin to round it out here with probably, actually in this case, a small parting tool or even the skew. You'll notice here the little rings. These are for finger grips, and I use a finger grip chisel. This is the chisel here in the background, specially cut. When you push this into the moving piece, it actually cuts those grooves evenly spaced about a 1/16 of an inch apart. Same way with this other pin tube here. Again, taking the Versa chisel and just coming across, shaping it. Actually, we start shaping this by taking it a little bit of bites at a time, coming from one edge and then the other edge coming back this way, and then the final piece you can actually take and shape it and sand it to the final pitch. Okay, one more shape to show you, and this is made by the parting tool. This is a 1/16 of an inch parting tool, which has seen a little bit better days. It's got a little hot in the lathe, that's why it's colored that way. But you see these here, you can make shoulder cuts, and this is basically what a shoulder cut looks like here, with this parting tool. And it makes for a nice stair-step base. And again, just for review, we have a Convex Cut, and then our half Cove, a couple beads, and a really nice rounded bead here, kind of a larger bead, with a couple of added in extras. And these things, you'll get very good at it once you start doing it. It's basically just a series of shoulder cuts that you measure, and then you begin to round and shape with different tools. Well, I hope today's video was profitable for you. We're going to post some more wood crafting and woodworking videos right here on YouTube, so we'll see you next time.